Hey, what's up, Entourage? Today I want to go over some off-season news involving the coaching carousel. Obviously, we have some familiar faces and some new places, and then we have some new faces that are making their way onto the NFL. But first, if you haven't already, make sure you cop that Talent Over Everything t-shirt. Limited edition. Anybody who cops one will be entered into a contest for a free signed Kenyon Drake mini helmet. So make sure you click on the link in the description. Also, if you're interested in joining me in a playoff league draft this weekend for this weekend's games, there's only 2 games, so it's going to be some small leagues, maybe 4-person leagues. Make sure you click on the link. I'll have that in the description as well. You guys, I'll match any bonus that you do. So if you put in $10, you get $10 in bonus play. You put in $50, you get another $50 in bonus play. And they also have NBA games and other sports on Drafters as well. Well, guys, let's get into it. Beginning with the Dallas Cowboys. What does Mike McCarthy mean to the Dallas Cowboys offense and, most importantly, your fantasy players? Well, drum roll, absolutely nothing. It really doesn't. Mike McCarthy, it's not like he's somebody that just comes in and, brings in a whole system, a whole attitude. No, he's another figurehead, another puppet for Jerry to play with. He does have some pedigree, I guess. He was a Super Bowl winner, but I think that had more to do with Aaron Rodgers. As we saw, his last couple of years, that offense looked pretty stale. They were just like running go routes the whole time. Not much of a running game. Didn't emphasize the running game at all. And it's still Kellen Moore's offense. So whatever we saw this year, we'll see a lot more of it next year. So Dak will still be Dak. He'll look great at times and then fold under hard defenses or tough defenses. Mari Cooper the same. The one guy I really do like is Gallup. But I think that just has to do with, him just maturing. He's getting into that third year. Third year is usually the big year for wide receivers. So I expect a monster year out of Gallup. Zeke will be Zeke. But it doesn't really have anything to do with Mike McCarthy. Kellen Moore did a great job this year. They just faltered at the end. So no real impact for fantasy as far as the Mike McCarthy hire. He did hire Mike Nolan as his defensive coordinator. So Dallas defense might be a little better when it comes to getting fantasy points. Mike Nolan's known for being an aggressive defensive coordinator, so expect to see more sacks, maybe a couple more fumbles and interceptions. But, defenses, that's something you could stream. It's not something I really focus too much on. I never go into the draft thinking, I'm going to draft this defense. It's usually just whatever's left over. And, this defense, I'm not even sure if the Niners were even drafted. The year before that, the Bears. The year before that with Jacksonville. These were defenses that you could have got at the very, very end of your draft or even in free agents. So I never focused too much on that. The other big hire was by a division rival, which is the Washington Redskins. I like this hire a lot more, just from a regular football standpoint. I think Ron Rivera is the perfect coach. I don't think he's the perfect coach, but I think he's the perfect coach for this team. Ron Rivera is a defensive guy with a defensive background, likes to play good defense and run the football, and that's what the Washington Redskins are all about. They don't have a ton of weapons. What I guess you could say I like, but I don't like at the same time, is they brung in his offensive coordinator from the Panthers. So I don't know if we'll see. You can't really run the Panthers system with Dwayne Haskins at quarterback. I'm talking about the Panthers system with Cam Newton. But, we did see the way they used Christian McCaffrey, even though I think North Turner had a lot to do with that. But I would expect them to use, I already said they're going to use the running backs quite a bit, and running backs quite a bit in the passing game. So a guy like Bryce Love might be worth a look at. Chris Thompson's a free agent. Wendell Smallwood's a free agent. Neither one of those guys are anything special anyway. And they did draft Bryce Love with a pretty high pick. I think he was maybe fourth round pick, even with the ACL, and this guy was absolutely dynamic. So that's a sleeper for you. So a guy like him, a player like Terry McLaurin, I expect him to evolve as a receiver. Hopefully, Dwayne Haskins, he started getting better later on in the year before he got injured. Maybe he'll mature and become a nice quarterback since, their offensive coordinator has done a pretty decent job, given the situations. Obviously, Cam has had MVP years under him, and Kyle Allen was a thing for a while until, I guess, defenses figured to hit him out. So not a whole lot. Oh, I do like the signing he did with bringing in Jack Del Rio to be the defensive coordinator. So I do like that. I think Washington Redskins are going to be a sleeper defense and one that's going to be fantasy relevant. They dealt with a lot of injuries, but before those injuries, they were actually a pretty solid defense, especially in the secondary. So I expect that to continue or perhaps improve when you add the combination of both Ron Rivera, defensive guy, and Jack Del Rio. The other signing was by the New York Giants. Now, at first, I was like, what the hell? Where did this come from? I never even heard of this guy. Talking here about, what's this guy's name? Joe Judge. I mean, the name alone is pretty cool. And just like the name, this guy seems like, really straightforward, no nonsense type of guy. I like that. But what really impressed me, because I did sit down and watch his press conference, because I didn't know anything about the guy. So I was like, what is it that the Giants like? Other than, obviously he comes from Bill Belichick. But how many Bill Belichick's coaches have flamed? We're talking about Charlie Weiss, Romeo Crennel. I don't think Bill O'Brien's anything special. Patricia in Detroit. I do like Vrabel, but that's like one out of how many? You know what I'm saying? Josh McDaniels flamed out before he went back to being the OC. So that alone doesn't do it for me. But I saw the way the guy talks. And this is the thing, guys. You could be a great football mind and be a shitty coach. It takes a good football coach has to be able to communicate with his players. There's other coaches that are really good at communicating and motivators, right? Tomlin, Mike Singletary. He had those Niners fired up when he first got there, flamed out. Same thing with Rex Ryan. You got coaches that are good at talking the talk, and then they're not good at, X's and O's. Tomlin, Rex Ryan, guys like that. And then you got guys that are just brilliant offensive minds. Wade Phillips, defensive coordinator. I don't know. What's another good defensive mind that just flamed out as a coach? Maybe Pat Shurmur, which we'll get into. Like, these guys were good coordinators, but they just don't got the, the presence, the communication skills to demand a locker room and get those players respect. I think with Joe Judge being from the Belichick tree, before that Nick Saban, I like the way, he talked about fairness, about holding players accountable. I think he's going to put his players in position to win. So Daniel Jones, I think, will continue to evolve. You saw the way the Patriots, obviously Tom Brady has been a great fantasy quarterback for a long time. I think he'll focus on cutting down the turnovers, because that's one thing the Patriots don't tolerate, protecting the football. I think he'll get his players the ball, like Saquon Barkley. I'm not too keen on Shepard or Evan Ingram just because they're always injured. So I think you're going to be able to get tremendous value from a guy like, what's this guy's name that killed Slayton? I think is going to continue to evolve. I think Golden Tate will be solid. You saw the way the Patriots used the slot receivers. So Golden Tate could be a thing, even though he's getting up there in age. His type of game, the age doesn't really concern me, because he's more of a possession guy. He's slick. He's hard to cover. He runs those small routes. He's short-handed. So I think Golden Tate and Slayton are the two guys I prefer over Evan Ingram and a Shepard when it comes to the pass catchers. I think Barkley would be absolutely phenomenal. I think they'll try to control the clock, play good defense, and just overall be a good team. I really like the Joe Judge hire after I was like, what the hell? And one thing to note here, some of the better coaches have come from special teams. And one of the things Bill Belichick said, he's one of the few coaches that coach under him that could coach all facets of the game. So a lot of coaches, they're either offensive guys or defensive guys. This guy gets it. So like Joe Judge. And I think the fantasy players, like I said, I don't think he affects them that much one way or another. I just think Daniel Jones is a good player. He'll continue to evolve. Same thing with Slayton, and Barkley is an absolute stud. Now, with the Panthers, this is really, really interesting. Now, I'll be the first, because, again, guys, one thing I pride myself on is being very, very straightforward with you guys. And I'll be the first to tell you, I don't watch college football. I just don't. So I don't know anything about Matt Rule or this guy Brady, but I did my research. This is when I start looking into college. I do prep for the draft because I love the draft. That's my favorite part of the NFL because I've always wanted to be a GM. And I know how to build a team. And I build my fantasy teams like I would build a real team. I like young players. I like fast players. I like athletes. So with that said, I liked what I saw out of Matt Rule because I don't watch college, but I've watched over 20 years of NFL. And I know what it takes to be successful in this league. I know what type of coaches. And Matt Rule seems like he could work out. And I love the hire of him getting offensive coordinator Brady from LSU because, again, I did my research. I didn't watch one quarter of college football this year, not even the championship game. But what I did find out is this guy's an innovator. I heard him talk. I heard his philosophy, and he wants to be aggressive. He's all about the big plays. He's all about getting his players in the right position and taking advantage of matchups. That's what he said. Well, guess what? He's got playmakers in Carolina. So I think DJ Moore is going to go nuts. Of course, it depends who's the quarterback. But obviously, he has successful quarterbacks. Look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, 16 touchdowns one year. Next year, he breaks the record, wins the championship. They break all kinds of records. So I like it because Matt Rule is more of like the team builder guy. He's good at developing players. He took 2 crappy programs, and I saw that every year they improved. His first year at Temple, they were crap. Then they got better the second year. Third year, I think they were, 1 or 2 losses. Same thing with Baylor. They won 1 game the first year. Second year, I think they were 6-6, and then, they won 2 or 3, or lost only 2 or 3 games. So he's good at building a program. He looks like he's one of those player-friendly guys that players just want to run through a wall from. And then he brings in the young guy, the innovator. And this guy, Brady, I did my research, like I said, he was under Sean Payton, one of the most brilliant offensive minds in the game for 2 years. And Sean Payton's also good at doing, putting players in position to succeed, moving Michael Thomas into the slot, using Alvin Kamara as a receiver. So I think CMC, I was a little worried. I was like, no North Turner or whatever, but I think this is the perfect coach. And I believe I read somewhere that LSU had the second most receptions out of the running back position as well. So CMC, great news for him. Great news for DJ Moore. And perhaps even Curtis Samuel. Of course, that depends on the quarterback. But what I do like is I think that defense is going to be horrible. I think they have 7 free agents across the defensive line. Another 6 are over 30. They just lost their captain, Luke Cooley, whatever his name is, Luke. So that means there should be in a lot of shootouts, especially in that division. You have a lot of potent offense. You got the Saints, the Falcons, the Bucks. So I'm going to be heavily vested in the Carolina Panthers, just not their defense. The Browns, this is the one I hate. I hate this hire for the Browns. I feel sorry for them. The Browns, they're in disarray. And then they bring in a guy like Kevin Stefanski. It's great for Chubb. It's great for Chubb because this guy likes to run. So it's great in the sense that for Chubb. But it's bad news for OBJ. It's bad news for Landry. They will be inconsistent the same way Diggs and Thielen were inconsistent. Diggs had a nice hot streak when he was the only thing, when Thielen was hurt. But when Thielen was there, he wasn't really that great. And even Thielen, he saved a couple weeks with some touchdowns and stuff. So not ideal for either Landry or OBJ. But Chubb might be the number 1 overall running back if it wasn't for CMC or Barkley. But who knows? One could get hurt or both. I hope not. But even then, I think Chubb can be even better than Cook. Yes. He runs the zone scheme. Cleveland ran the zone scheme last year, but, he had a split with Hunt. I doubt they bring Hunt back. I think Hunt's good enough to be a stud on his own. But absolutely love Chubb, and he loves to use their running backs in the passing game. And that's why I wish, Chubb is such a good pass catcher. When they've used him, he's looked phenomenal. They just never used him like that. Freddie Kitchens was garbage. So it's good for Chubb. Everyone else, probably Cleveland. I don't expect them to make the playoffs. I just don't think it's a good football hire, but great for Chubb. Broncos bringing in Pat Shurmur. I thought that was kind of interesting. Rich scaring gorillas out after only 1 year. Say what you want about Shurmur as a head coach, but he's had some success with quarterbacks. He was, Donovan McNabb's coordinator early on. He was the coordinator with Chip Kelly when Philadelphia was the leader in points and all kinds of offensive categories. Sam Bradford, he developed into a nice quarterback his rookie year, probably his best year. And then Case Keenum had his best year. And Case Keenum, we see how bad he's looked, but he actually looked really good in Minnesota. So I do think this is a good hire for Drew Luck. So yeah, I mean, Pat Shurmur, I don't think it really hurts I think it's going to elevate the offense as a whole because I think it's going to help Drew Lock. So if it helps Drew Lock, it's going to help, what's his name? Courtland Sutton. I'm curious to see what happens with the running backs. Both, all the teams I could think of that Kevin Stefanski, or not talking about Kevin Stefanski now. What's his name? Pat Shurmur. They always had like one main running back. They had Barkley in Minnesota. They had when he was there. Did they have Cook? Or I don't know. But he's and same thing with Philadelphia. I believe maybe it was Brian Westbrook or somebody at the time. I don't know. But he's always had like one main running back. So I don't know if Lindsey's really that guy. He looked okay the second year, but I don't really think he's that good of a pass catcher. And because he's kind of small, I'm not sure he could be a true workhorse. So I wouldn't be surprised if they draft a running back and he becomes the guy. I don't know if they have, any more faith left in Rolls-Royce. But Rolls-Royce is definitely the better pass catcher. I think Rolls-Royce could be a thing if they gave him the opportunity. I just don't know how much this coaching staff and ownership has any more faith in him since Lindsey's been the guy. But I have a feeling that they're going to draft somebody and maybe that running back will more of like a 3-down workhorse running back because I don't believe Lindsey is that more like a big play, changes pace. I think he's better suited for that. What else? John DeFilippo is headed to the Bears. And I thought this was interesting because John DeFilippo is like the opposite of Kevin Stefanski. He's all about the pass. And then Minnesota went the total, opposite and got Stefanski, who's all about the run. So we're about to see what Mitch is made of. I think Mitch is going to have a solid fantasy year because they're going to they're going to throw a lot and he'll probably look decent against bad teams, kind of like Dak Prescott. It's very few quarterbacks that, are good throughout. But yeah, I think Mitch will be better. But I also think he's going to have a low floor because Mitch is just not that good. So it's not even about DeFilippo. Now, the interesting thing is here, DeFilippo is the offensive coordinator for the Jags, and they use Leonard Fournette quite a bit, especially in the passing game. He had 100 targets, caught 76 passes. That's a lot for a running back. The only reason Leonard Fournette didn't have a bigger season. He only had, I think, maybe 4 rushing touchdowns. So, and DeFilippo's always used one running back, Dalvin Cook and Leonard Fournette. So, obviously Tariq Cohen's not going to be the one running back. It would have to be David Montgomery. So there is some upside with David Montgomery, especially if they feature him in the passing game. And, hopefully Chicago will get some offensive linemen. I mean, they can't get any worse. That offensive line was I think the worst in run blocking. So David Montgomery might be a sleeper. We might see David Montgomery, live up to all that hype that we thought he'd have, this season. So I think that covers all the hires. So, yeah, the only one I don't really like is the Stefanski hire. But, again, I think it'll be great for Chubb. And if you didn't catch it earlier, check the description. Order a Talent Over Everything t-shirt. I have to get mine still. And then you'll be entered to win a signed Kenyon Drake mini helmet, who I think is going to have a big year. And then if you want to participate in the Drafters Playoff League, there'll also be a link for that. We'll double whatever you put up to $50. But yeah, guys, as always, too, you can ask any questions in the comments section. Follow me on Instagram at fantasyfootballrapper or on Twitter at IMFFrapper. Until next time, guys, peace!